Hello, beautiful people. Here I am with another dream chat with you guys. This week, we're going to be talking about, or this live, we're going to be talking about recurring dreams and dream symbols. This is something that I'm really familiar with. I know a lot of you are really familiar, I'm sure, with having a sequence of dreams, whether it's an actual symbol, image, or an actual dream that is repeating, but something just coming up over and over for you. And this became really clear to me once I started recording my dreams. And I'm sure it was happening beforehand. However, I didn't really notice it until I started really paying attention to my dreams intentionally. So I want to hear from you guys of if you have any symbols or dreams, like particular dream topics that come up over and over again for you. And also, if you have dream symbols that come up over and over for you, I would love to hear about it. If you want to hop on live on camera with me, that would be amazing as well, but no pressure to do that. So I talked a little bit about this in my dream circle, and I think it's a really important point or something to be aware of, because what I love about dreams, and of course my intention for really having a conscious, intentional dream practice, is the fact that our unconscious mind, our hidden self, right, the quiet parts of ourself, speak to us in ways that, if we don't pay attention, then it can kind of just slip by. And so once you make that direct connection, specifically through your dreams, the messages become clearer and they also become louder in a sense, right? So you can't really avoid it, especially, if you're writing it down, it's inevitable that you're not going to miss it. And so I really am, I don't know, it's just this really beautiful feeling that it does feel, at least in the beginning, it felt like there was something separate from me, like trying to get my attention or trying to communicate with me. Now, after doing the spiritual work, the dream work, I feel more integrated. And that was something I was really going towards with my particular practice. And so, I'm going to talk just a little bit about my thoughts, what I've learned as far as recurring dreams and dream symbols. Then I will share with you my recurring dream and dream symbols. And then again, I would love to also hear from you. All right. So hello, Christoph. Oops. See, I moved your comment. So Christopher, I love that, says, an exact scene recurring when I was a child, but lately Spirit had been showing up over the summer. Repetition in dreams is always super loud. Yes. And Blonde Buddha. Oh, oh my gosh. Hello, Alicia. I love that. Your hair looks so cute. Thank you. Yes. I cut it, took out the braids, did a whole thing. So, and I feel really good. All right, so before I get into the main topic, or just the main information I'm going to share here, I want to just share that I have a dream guide. It's a 25-page dream guide where it hits all these different significant points of creating your own conscious dream practice. It is essentially the notes and the main points that I made during the dream circle that I facilitated over eclipse season. So I am really excited to have that offering out there, and it's an instant PDF digital download. You can access that via the link in my bio here. You can just go straight to my website, which is uraniauniverse.com, and you can get that. And that's very supportive if you want to create a dream practice that is in alignment with the moon cycles, or just paying attention to your dreams over the course of 28 days, which is what I was doing with the circle that I facilitated it with. All right, so recurring dreams. Thank you. Everyone's giving me compliments on my hair. That's awesome. Thank you guys. I'm really feeling this look lately. But anyways, okay, so the reason we're here, recurring dreams and dream symbols. So essentially, when you are experiencing recurring dreams, reoccurring dreams, and dream symbols, this essentially is your unconscious mind urging you to consciously receive and acknowledge the issue and resolve it, right? And so usually the recurring dream, there's like a mess there. Obviously there's a message, but there's also medicine within the dream, right? And so I tend to, I listen to the, This Jungian Life podcast, and the podcast is more, centered around the psyche, the psychology of the mind, and just different topics. But on every episode, they essentially interpret a dream. So they have listeners submit dreams, and then they interpret it at the end of the episode. And they also have a dream school that I am really wanting to participate in. And so that's something that's like one of my dreams for this year. One of my intentions is to do their yearly dream school program. And so I'm really, really excited. They're all dream analysts from the Jungian perspective, and they also are psychologists. One's a social worker, one's a writer and such. So when they are interpreting dreams, and when I've seen or listened to them interpret dreams, that if someone mentions that it's a recurring theme, usually what they always tend to point out is that the recurring theme, or like the main issue or the main emotion at hand, right? Because if it's a recurring dream, it's usually like some event, some scene is happening repetitively, even though it might be a different way in which it manifests or the dream presents itself. There's always still, the core is always the same, right? And I'll share with you one of mine. Or with the dream symbol, there's always, that symbol is always present. And the way they perceive that is that our unconscious mind there's a link to some sort of childhood trauma, right? And that trauma, and if it didn't happen per se in childhood, it's usually pretty close to that time, right? Sometime in adolescence. There are obviously exceptions, but usually it's like that time period, depending on what the context of the dream is. And whatever is happening, whatever the repetitive dream is pointing to, like that traumatic experience, or maybe it's some sort of conditioning or just something that happened in your childhood, it's coming up, or there's something in your life currently that is, you could say, triggering that, right? There is a relevancy to that and to now. So one of the examples I'll share is from, I listened to an episode last night, and at the end of the dream, there was a girl who, she had a baby. Like, she didn't have a baby in real life, but she had a baby in the dream. She had just had a baby, and she set the baby down and like turned around to do something. And then she turned back around and the baby was gone. And she was in a house full of people. There were a lot of children. So it was kind of really busy. And then her mom comes up to her, and she basically, her mom's like, oh my gosh, like the police are here. Like, they're going to find out that we're hoarders, and I need you to help me hide my drugs. And so then she stopped looking for the baby, and she was also ashamed and scared to tell anyone that she lost the baby. So she was trying to pretend like everything was cool. So then she ended up helping her mom hide drugs, whatever. And then someone else in the house found the baby outside by the pool, and she was reunited with the baby. And then she still felt shame that she lost the baby, but she was really grateful. And that's one thing she said in the dream was like, I'm so, like, this feeling of gratitude for having the baby back, right? And so the way they interpreted that, and the reason why I'm sharing this, like, I'm not sure if it was a repetitive theme, but the reason why I'm sharing this is because the way they perceive that, like what was coming through with other context from the dreamer that she shared just in the notes, was that that dream is pointing to, because she did mention that her mother was really childlike, and they were just intuitively connecting with the reader's energy in the sense of like, they felt that the reader or the dreamer had experienced this, say, in their childhood. Like their mom was like, maybe had substance abuse or something, and there was a lot going on in the home, and the kid had to like hide certain things that are happening in the home from, you know, say the outside world and such. And so it's coming up in the dream, and the baby actually represents the dreamer and her not basically taking care of herself, right? And she is defaulting to the needs of, say, her mother, which might be something that is recurring, that's coming up. And her unconscious mind is wanting to make her aware of that so that she can then come back to herself and nurture herself, right? Because she stopped looking for the baby, stopped caring for the baby, and helped her mom, right, hide drugs or whatever. And so I thought that was really amazing how and the way they brought it back to the present moment was that, you know, they were just bringing attention. They didn't have the person that had the dream right in front of them, but they were just saying, hey, you know, if you find yourself doing this in your waking life, like you're defaulting to the mother or you're defaulting to everyone else's needs, like this is your unconscious mind showing you that, hey, like you need that attention, right? You are neglecting yourself, right? And it was they said it was a really good ending to the dream, that she came back to the baby or was reunited with the baby. They embraced, and she was saying she was so grateful. And the space of, or that vibration of gratitude is really high, especially if you're someone who's had a very, like an unstable childhood. Gratitude is something that, you know, like, it's like there's so many things happening in your environment. Like it can be challenging to find things to be grateful for when it's on that end of the spectrum. So I thought that was really interesting how the past tied into the present moment. And so when you're having dreams repeat themselves, then that is your unconscious mind. It's like, hey, like pay attention. This is something that you need to consciously be aware of so that you can resolve it, because it's limiting you in some way. So whatever your intentions, whatever your goals are within this present moment, this thing might, if you feel yourself blocked, like you can't manifest this thing and you're having, you know, challenges and you're doing everything that you can, your dream, your unconscious mind might be giving you a sort of heads up of, hey, like this is something that it's right here in your present moment, and you need to be aware of that and maybe make this the proper, you know, corrections to that. And so I would love to hear, those of you watching, if you have any recurring dreams or, you know, dream symbols. So for myself, this was really interesting hearing this person's dream that they shared on the podcast, because since I've had my daughter I had her in December of 2019, postpartum, like the whole year and thereafter, I've had recurring dreams of where she's missing or I leave her somewhere. So it's very similar to this dreamer. And actually last night I had a dream where I didn't pick my daughter up from school and her dad didn't pick her up either. And I ended up going, like, he went out of state, I went out of state to do something, and I was coming right back, but I had no idea how she was going to get picked up from school, and I didn't know where she was, and it was just this really anxious dream. And I've heard of other moms having this dream too, but I've had a recurring dream of losing or leaving my baby somewhere. And I knew it wasn't really literal. I've done research where it's more so, like, for one, I never let my child out of my sight to even think about, you know, missing her, like losing her, leaving her somewhere. That's definitely not going to happen. But what I've researched is that there are parts of myself that feel abandoned or that have been abandoned. And it's something that I want to connect with my mother about. but this is one of those really sensitive topics that I don't even know how to approach it without just being like direct, right? But my mother had me when she was 20 years old. She's pretty young. And for the most part, my grandmother raised me up until, like, living with her up until I was like 5. And then I was back and forth between her and my mom until I was about 7. And I would also go back and forth between my mom and my dad, who my dad lived 3 to 4 hours away. And so there was a lot of back and forth. And so I'm so curious if there were ever moments where I just felt like abandoned, or I felt lost, or I don't know. So there's definitely something there. And I wish that I wrote down the dream. I haven't been doing that well with writing my dreams, but I wish I wrote down the dream, because like I said, these recurring dreams tend to really present also like the medicine, the remedy to really balance out or correct what it is, like how to resolve that trauma or that recurring pattern, so that you can move forward and say manifest whatever it is you desire to manifest. So another recurring dream, that's something that happened that's new to me, like the past, I would say 6 months, is that lately, every so often, it's probably about once a month, I have a dream where I am constantly searching for a clean toilet. Like I have to go to the bathroom and I can't find a clean stall. And it's always a public restroom. And the stalls are always like really dirty, just like really, really gross. And one of my understandings of the dream is that, and the way I connect to it too, is that I'm holding on to some really strong emotions, and I need a deep emotional release. I do feel like there's something else there with this particular recurring dream theme, but I haven't gotten to that level yet, right? And so I tend to pay attention to the other context of the dream, but there's always that toilet overflowing or not. Yeah, the toilet's also overflowing. There aren't any clean stalls. It's always a public bathroom. There's something there with emotional release. And now as I'm sharing this, I'm thinking about how hard it is for me to cry in front of everyone. Like this year, I've gotten a lot better. But for most of my life, I would hold in my emotions until, I had my own privacy, which usually is like in the shower, right? So speaking of bathrooms, so there's something there. And so I had someone reach out in my story that shared a recurring dream that's been coming up, and it's similar, like along the lines of possibly something that happened in childhood, or there's something there that hasn't been resolved, something that's lingering within the conscious mind, and it's presenting itself to help you to heal, right? Because I feel what I've been learning, what I've been experiencing with dreams is that when we do have these type of dreams that are like conveying a message or showing us something directly, it's usually like the purpose is for healing. The purpose is for the embetterment of our being, our wellness, our health and wellness, right? And so that's how I tend to look at these dreams, especially when they conjure really intense emotions. And so a good friend mentioned shared in my story when I asked for any examples or what they've had coming up over and over again. And so they said they're returning to high school, to a high school drama club decades later, and having to perform but not knowing their lines, right? So they're showing up, like it's almost like you're coming back to your high school drama club for your high school reunion, and you are having to perform, but you cannot remember your lines, right? And so it's like this is a dream that is repeating over and over. And so just connecting with the energy that I felt when I read that was there's something, it's like there's some sort of limitation of fully expressing oneself, right? where it's like you're lost for words. You don't have the words, and it's like, and just thinking about like rehearsing, like having to rehearse lines or like not feeling prepared, and then you get there and you're just like everyone's watching you. That to me feels like it's like maybe you've been showing up, or maybe you are showing up in a way that you feel people are expecting you to show up, or you're like, this is how I'm supposed to be. Or maybe there's an element of yourself that you feel like, hey, this is how I'm supposed to be, but it's like I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to say, and I'm sure I've rehearsed this so many times, but like I feel when you're in those organic, authentic moments, it just flows, right? So what is keeping you in resistance, right? And so if I had the whole context of the dream, because this was just a little simple question box, so there wasn't a lot of space to share the entire dream, but that would definitely help to give more context of, I like to know how people feel in the dream and how they feel when they wake up. That's something you definitely want to pay attention to, because I did feel, I don't know, it's like coming back to school, and it's like, what is everyone going to think? Or even maybe, am I where I thought I would be, when I was in school and where I am now? So there's a lot of like whatever happened during that time. And again, it's pointing to some sort of time in the past that is influencing the current moment, right? Of really, and I know this person a little bit, not super well, but I know that they're stepping out fully into their passion, I believe. And so there might be like, just in the psyche, there might be something going on in the mind that is feeling a bit anxious about that. And it's like, am I going to be seen and heard in the way that I desire to be seen and heard? Am I showing up fully, And so I definitely feel there's something about a play. There's something about like showing up and that vulnerability of being seen, right? And I know there's a recurring dream where people tend to show up naked to certain, like where they're on a stage or they're at school or they're at some public event and they're always showing up naked. And there's some layer of vulnerability there. Like, it's like, do I feel comfortable in my skin with who it is that I truly am? So that's one of those dream symbols that tend to recur often for people, or dream scenes. So there's a couple of you here. I'm curious if you have any recurring dream symbols. Let me go back to that one. Current when I was a child, but lately a well spirit has been showing up. Yeah, so it's interesting when animals pop up in dreams. And again, this goes in the line of dream symbols. So when so with the well spirit, I would definitely, that to me feels more like a divine connection coming through, like some sort of repetitive divine guidance in a way, like of course an animal spirit wanting to communicate. And those are other, that's another type of dream where you're receiving that spiritual divine guidance. So again, that well spirit, which can also be a reflection of your unconscious self, right? Your hidden self. It could be an aspect of you that is coming through as a well and has something to show you, has something to communicate with you. And I'm sure Christopher has kind of dug into that a bit, and maybe there is a connection to the well spirit. Then I would take it even more so to the water. And water in dreams, of course, has to do with emotions and has to do, with spiritual energy. And depending on your connection to the water, it's like, how are you overwhelmed or overwhelmed with emotion, right? Are you holding a lot in? Like, are you drowning in emotion? Are you flowing blissfully in emotion? And this is all, kind of communicated with you through the way water shows up in your dream. And so that's one of the ways, if I had a recurring dream symbol, which was a well, I would definitely just even look more at the behavior at wells in nature and their connection to water, and just see how that may or may not be reflected in my own life. So I've talked about this recurring dream symbol a lot, but I definitely feel that it's my most profound symbol. And again, it has roots that are connected to my upbringing, my conditioning, and that is the symbol of the car. And that has been coming up over and over again since I've been doing this dream work. And I'm so curious if I've had dreams about cars for some time, and just it never clicked until I started writing my dreams. But just to be really brief for me with the car symbol, and just in general, cars represent how you navigate your life, and more so, are you in control of the direction of that your life is headed, right? Are you in control of your individuality, of who you are? And so you want to pay attention to, who's driving the car, where you are when you're in the car, or if the car is just in the dream, like what is going on? What is the context around this dream symbol? And also, again, emotions are so important. And for me personally, the car symbol has a lot to do with my identity and my own autonomy over who it is that I am. And this goes all the way back to, I would say, when I was born, when my mom had the intention of naming me. So my mother given name is Porsche, right? She literally named me after the car, and admits that she named me after the car so that she could say that she has one, right? And so for me, that her naming me Porsche was never about like me. And when I had my daughter, my daughter's father and I both sat down and we were like, we want her to have like a goddess name. We want it to be ancient. And we were just looking through these ancient names, and we were like, what? Like, we wrote down the ones that felt good, that sound good, that just felt right. And then once it came closer to her due date, we came back to that list and we landed on her name. And it was like, after having her in the womb, it's just very connected, very intentional. And I didn't feel like, thinking about that experience in comparison to when my mother carried me in this story, with my name, just the upbringing of my mom definitely wanting to control a lot of the things that I do, even up till now, and I'm almost 40. And so I felt like I had a loss of identity, right? And there's a whole main story of that. And so by changing my name, I am literally taking my power back and really creating like a boundary as well. And so that really clicked and sunk in when I really came into awareness of this recurring car symbol. And it wasn't just about changing my name. It was also about the way I communicate with my mother, and not just her, but with people in general, the way I carry myself and my confidence within myself, and just how I do my best at being my authentic self, unapologetically, not feeling like I have to hide. And for me, it was a lot of hiding, specifically with my mother, just not talking to her about things, like withholding information and telling her, what she wanted to hear, but then doing what I wanted to do, on the side, or like, that was just the actions. I would tell her one thing and I would just do me and then, or not tell her at all. Right. And so that was pretty much like growing up. And so this is why I feel that, really paying attention to your dreams and really holding space for the lessons to receive, and paying attention to the symbols or the themes that keep coming up. This is really important, and you will learn so much about yourself. And not only are you learning about yourself, but you're also learning how to correct those parts of yourself, or how to nurture yourself so that you can really resolve whatever's standing in your way, And by doing that, you can actually live the life that you desire and do the things that you desire to do, and not feel like you're continuously hitting this wall, or feeling just like heavy energy and you don't really know where it's coming from, especially when you're doing the work and you're showing up and, still you tend to not be successful in certain areas of your life. And every one of us has a part of our life or a part of ourself that just like, we've done so much, but it seems like the odds are like against us, or just like, I don't know what else to do. Go to your dreams and really set that intention to learn and to receive from the dream space. And once you hold space for that, and my recommendation is always 3 moon cycles. Pay attention to your dreams for 3 cycles with the moon, and you don't have to write every single dream down. I definitely don't do the best job at that. And, but yeah, pay attention to your dreams for 3 moon cycles. Pay attention to your sleeping patterns and, if you bleed, right? If you have a menstrual cycle, pay attention to your menstrual cycle with your dreams and see, sometimes during your cycle, this is when you have, like, for me, I have a lot of anxious dreams after the ovulation phase of my cycle. Then all like the heaviness comes up and it's like, yes, we're ready to purge. Like, here it all comes. And so I've learned how my own moon cycle connects with my dream cycle, and then also connects with the moon cycle, right? So there's that 3 again, there's that trifecta happening. And honestly, I feel that anyone who doesn't, menstruate, they can learn their own moon cycle by doing the dream work, and also connecting that with the astrology, specifically the cycles of the moon. And then they can really see and witness their own moon cycle, especially if you take it to your birth chart and you're looking at your moon sign and the phase that the moon was in when you were born. So that's the relationship of the moon to the sun, seeing that in your chart. And if you ever have questions about that, definitely feel free to send me a direct message and I can help you. I can, tell you what your moon phase is and just bringing it all in. And the whole point here is really getting to know yourself deeply, because there's so much within us that if we quiet down and really listen, and it takes a lot of discipline to quiet yourself enough and slow down enough to connect with your unconscious self through dreams. And once you do that, there's so much richness, there's so much healing and evolution for you, and that you will experience, right? Even in a short amount of time. When I did the dream circle, everyone, like the people in the circle, they had their transformative experience, and just how they felt coming in, and then after leaving, after the circle closed, there was definitely some clarity, some shifts, some healing, a lot more work to continue to do, but they felt inspired and ready to continue to pay attention to dreams and integrate that into, their waking life. And then, just the messages you receive those even more profoundly and I would say louder in your waking life once you connect with the unconscious self. So I think that is all I had to share about this topic. But thank you for those of you hanging out here with me, and I hope that you connect with yourself through your dreams. And always feel free to connect with me if you want to share a dream, or come on here live with me to chat about something coming up for you in your dream experience. And I'd be happy to connect and chat. So thank you again for watching. If you watch the replay, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments and your experiences and perspectives. All right, everyone, have sweet dreams.